Hey, good morning. It's the Vintage Video Game Geek here. This is my first video on a channel I'm calling Vintage Responds. And I created this channel for a couple reasons. Sometimes uh, I want to do a video response to something, but I don't want it to go on my main channel because, quite frankly, I just don't want to bore people that aren't interested in what I might do the response to. Um, so I thought, you know what? I want to create this channel where I can make this like extremely long and in this case rambling response. And I'll tell you up front. This is going to be like a really long and kind of unscripted video. So if you're not wanting to hear that, if you've stumbled upon this page and you don't want to hear it, then that's cool. I probably wouldn't want to hear myself. I'm sitting here. It's 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and my kids are asleep, and I'm trying to get this done before they wake up. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm sitting here drinking coffee out of a Starbucks mug that I bought from the very first Starbucks store. It's called Pike Place, and it's in Seattle, Washington, of course. Love this mug. It's like one of those extra large mugs. Um, but I'm drinking Folgers coffee out of it, which I think might be a crime actually in some states. But times are tough, so I was trying to cut back on some expenses. Tried the Folgers, and I probably won't do it again. Become somewhat of a coffee snob in my old age. Anyway, alright, so what is this video for? Well, a while back, I got a message on YouTube from a guy. Let's see, what's his username? Oh, his username is Joe A13, and his real name is Mike. And he sent me a message like a long time ago, and it was about a video that I made. It was my play and trade pickups video, and in the second part, I had talked about how you know this guy at the play and trade told me that a lot of their inventory came from this one guy who was a collector, and um, and basically the guy who was collecting at the time for his brother, and it was kind of their thing that they did together. But his brother had passed away, and I don't know if he had some medical issues or what, but when his brother passed away, it was like so hard for the other brother to see all this game stuff because they had all these great, memories. So he ended up just selling it all to the play and trade. So, Mike is a college student, and he's in writing, studying to be a professional writer, and he when he heard that, he got an idea to write a story about it. And so initially he asked me some questions like, hey, where was the store? And I gave him as much info as I could at the time, and I don't know if he has actually gone ahead with the story, but that's kind of how I was introduced to Mike. Very nice guy. And then recently he sent me a list of questions that he wanted to get from me because I think he's working on, I don't know if it's probably part of that story or a different one. I don't know. But he sent me some questions, and rather than just type them all out, I thought maybe I'll just do this video and I'll just talk it out like as if he were interviewing me. Um, what else can I tell you? Oh, and also, just out of the blue, he sent me a package. couple weeks ago, and I have it here. I'm gonna show it on my other channel, um, but it's a lot of Atari games and a Sega game, and just sent it to me just because I guess he had found these or picked them up somewhere, and he really doesn't he likes games, but he doesn't have an Atari or anything like that, so he just sent it to me. So thank you, Mike. Alright, I've got this email here. He sent me 6 questions, more or less, back on October 2nd, and today is November 20th, so sorry about that, Mike, about how long it's taking me, but let's get started. I haven't looked at these questions in a while, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, number 1. What are some of the things you love most about video gaming? And he says, I know this is a ridiculously tricky question, but any thoughts would be helpful. What are some of the things you love most about video gaming? Well, I mean, it's fun, I think is the obvious answer. And I can tell you why. I guess I think it's fun. I mean, I think there's something ingrained in just being a guy. You for whatever reason, the idea of things shooting things or blowing things up or beating things up, or beating people up is just appealing to guys. And I think I fall into that category, and you can't do these things in real life, but you watch them on TV or in movies and you think how cool that would be. So video games are a way that you can kind of put yourself in that situation, but not really. So I just think they're cool, they're fun. Now, but deeper, it goes back to what I really love about it is really it's the experiences that are kind of tied to playing the games. Um, and just the memories associated with the time frame. And you'll hear people talk about this, and this is why I started my Vintage Video Game Geek channel. Is because I wanted to tell the story of my personal gaming experience, which isn't all that exciting, but I just wanted to do it just for me, so I would have like an interesting way of going back and kind of seeing my memories on these videos. And and it started with my ColecoVision, and then throughout the years the different systems and games that I played and the different memories I had of playing with my friends, and reliving those memories is kind of a way of time traveling back to that time. And when you're a kid, and it's just like the world, it seems like this, just it's a different place. You're all you really know is what's happening in your little world, and you're kind of free from all this crazy stuff that's going on with wars and people killing each other in the name of God, and and all the poverty, and just all the terrible things that are out there are. I'm very blessed to have lived in the United States, and I recognize that, and and there's part of me that has like actual guilt about I grew up oblivious to all the suffering in the world, and I had all these things that you don't really need in life, like toys and video games and all that other stuff. And back then, I didn't really get it, and now I do, and I'm very grateful for it. And but yeah, it's like now that my eyes are open to the whole world and all the bad things, one of the ways of kind of getting away from that and just returning to that time is just by playing these old games. And I think that's what I really, when it comes down to, that's what I love more about it. the most about gaming is going back and I hope that answers that question. Number two, what are some of the things you love most about video game consoles themselves? Arcade or home varieties? Okay, so what do I love about the physical parts of them? I guess I'll start with the arcades. I mean, arcades are awesome. I want to have an arcade machine in my house so bad. It's just that my house is so small. Um, and my wife basically said it's forbidden. And I kind of understand that. So maybe if we ever upgrade, in the future, I might want to get one, or I might be able to convince her. I don't know, along the way, but I just love to have one. And I guess same reason is it brings me back to memories of my arcade when I was a kid. I mean, there was one when I was real young, like 5. My dad would take me to, and it was like just basically this in a little strip mall. It was just this, little arcade, and it was always like dark and smoky, and it had all that's where I played all the super classics like Pac-Man and Galaga and Elevator Action. And then when I got a little older, um, I would go to this place called Fun Spot, and then it was changed to Stop and Play, and that's where I played like Double Dragon, RoboCop. Um, I don't know if they had a RoboCop there or not, but like TMNT, Simpsons. I mean, Afterburner. All these like kind of 1980, like late 80s, early 90s arcades, and it's just awesome. I mean, especially to play with with a friend or something like that. Or like 2 to 4 people playing like Gauntlet. I used to play with like four people, and um, yeah, there is something about like that, the tactile sensation of the joystick and the buttons and the clicking and the noise, the noise of it all. There is something about it. It's hard to explain. Um, what do I love most about video game consoles? Well, I definitely have found that I like collecting. I like physically. I'm looking at my consoles right now on the wall, and I'm just like, what do I love about them? Well, I love how they're different. Like they each have. I mean, they're all somewhat similar, but somewhat different. You know, and I like just like having them and looking at them and knowing like some of the history about them, and being able to, they're kind of a conversation piece. So being able to, when somebody comes down to the game room, I can sit here and be like, yeah, and this is, the heavy sixer, and being able to show the differences between the different models of the 2600, and talking about the top loader and the the Sega, all the Sega add-ons, the Sega CD and the 32, all that stuff. It's just cool to kind of talk about. And I'm one to like, I mean, yeah, I like having these things, but I also try not to put too much emphasis on having things, right? Because uh, all this stuff one day I recognize is gonna ultimately end up in the dumpster at some point. I like to think I'm gonna pass this on to my kids, but hey, the world's eventually gonna end at some point. So this stuff isn't coming with me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But in the meantime, I think it's okay to just enjoy things as long as you keep the perspective, and don't let it get don't get carried away with the collecting.